Hello, everybody. If we've spoken before, you probably know I'm always curious and I love learning from outside of our industry. Today, I'm excited to have a conversation with Madison from the Olay Winery and Farm in Canada's Okanagan region. Did I get that correct?
You did, yes, nailed it.
So we'll dive more into that in a moment. But while the beer and wine industries share many similarities, I'm looking forward to learning from Madison about how her business is seeing growth in a time many of us are facing some challenges. So, Madison, first off, thanks for being here. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me on this show. This is very exciting.
I love your energy. How do you stay so positive, and how do you just feel like a giant rainbow of sunshine?
There's a lot of wine involved. No, I haven't had anything. We're doing dry February. I don't know. I think I'm just really fortunate to be in a career path that I really do love, and it is nice to be able to share it with everyone. Whenever anyone asks me like what success is, and there's always some like, oh, it's whatever, waking up when I want. I actually think it's being who you want to be. So, and I'm fortunate enough that I get to experience that on an everyday basis.
Well, we're diving in. So, what do you want to be?
I just want to be happy. I get to be happy. I get to have fun experimenting with fermentation. I get to share that with people. I get to be social. I get to turn our customers into friends.
So I agree with what you just said. I always like to be happy. I try to always have a positive attitude. Why is having an attitude like that really important for your business and as an entrepreneur?
I think it takes more effort to be the other way. It's, yeah, I think you're always representing your business no matter what. So you really got to suck it up. You just got to do it.
I mean, even on a bad day, if someone comes into your tasting room and you have a terrible attitude, that's a really not great first impression. So put the
No,
face on, be
exactly.
happy, make it work.
Yeah.
So one thing you said in your quick intro and you glossed over it, you said you're doing dry February.
Yes.
Tell
I
me
was
about
gonna say,
dry February because I'm familiar with what a lot of people know as dry January, but we are now in the month of February 2026. Is this a thing up your way? Is it something you're doing for a certain reason? Tell us about it.
it's only because my birthday is in January. So we usually end up celebrating it more than just outside of the day that is my birthday. So we like to do it in February instead. And it's also the shortest month. So
Well, awesome. Well, happy belated birthday and good luck in dry February.
thank you.
So, as we mentioned, you're in Canada and you're in the Okanagan region, and Summerland to be specific. Where in the world is that? And tell us a little bit more about the area.
So we are about 3.5 hours outside of Vancouver, which is down there on the coast. So we're like up in the mountains. We're actually along one of the largest lakes. We're surrounded by, yeah, it's mountains and lakes out here. So we have lots of alluvial soils. We got nothing but vineyards along the lake sides here. We have a lot of elevated vineyards as well too. It's a fantastic region. Highly recommend visiting it. We do usually have traditionally very cold winters, though, so it's definitely a good place to come in summer.
Is this an area that you're from, or how did you end up there?
We picked a property specific for the winery build. So originally, I did come from the coast, which is very like Pacific Northwest vibes. You know, it's kind of like Seattle. There's a lot of rain. Don't see a lot of sunshine sometimes. And then we found this beautiful property up here and packed up our bags and decided to move this way.
And how long ago was that?
That was 5 years ago.
So that's exciting. We're going to dive more into the wine journey that you've had. But first, I imagine when you were growing up, you probably didn't say, I'm going to own a winery one day. So
No, nobody showed me that that's what chemistry could do, so I never took it in high school.
I don't think they were having like the winemakers and the brewmasters come to career day at schools. Maybe
No, unfortunately
someday. But
not.
like if someone had asked you when you were growing up, like what you wanted to be when you grew up, what was your answer?
It's very stereotypical. I wanted to be a lawyer.
Give
Yeah,
me
so
the reason why. Why did you want to be a lawyer and it didn't pan out?
I don't know if there's actually a particular reason. It's just that like the generation that I grew up in, they just encouraged you so much to like pick something serious. You have to go to university, like it's climb your corporate ladder. And being a lawyer is a way to help people as well too. So that was always interesting. Maybe because I like to argue a lot as well. Just a
So at what
natural
point
part
did
of
you
what I like to
decide
do.
that wasn't your career path?
At 19.
You knew pretty early on you weren't going to school to become a lawyer, but I imagine also at 19, were you set on opening a winery at that point in time?
No, absolutely not. So I took a gap year, and I was fortunate enough to work in West Edmonton Mall in Edmonton, and I worked at this really cool dueling piano bar called the Red Piano.
You've got me sold. I love dueling piano bars so much.
Yeah, and they did these really cool food and wine pairing dinners, and it was definitely like an elevated experience, and everyone would get all dressed up, and it was just so neat. And I didn't understand how cool wine was. My parents were always big into wine too. They used to have wine parties, things like that, but I didn't understand. I thought it was just being fun getting drunk. But it's actually like you can have the same grape from 4 or 5 different regions and they all taste so different. It's the different styles of the winemaker, the complexity. It's something that's from around the world. So that was really what opened my eyes up to it. So I started to go down more of the sommelier route for sure, and then ended up coming back to BC, started working at a winery. That's actually where I met my husband. And then I went from the tasting room to the vineyard to actually my first harvest of picking the grapes. And I was like, okay, this is it. This is the cool stuff. Like actually crushing the grapes and turning it from juice to wine was the most fascinating part in the journey.
And so you worked at that winery, the first one, for how long?
2016 to 2020. I think 2020 was my last year because we moved in 2021. Yeah, so I was lucky enough to work there for 4 years. But the beautiful thing about wine, just like beer, is it's the same around the world, give or take some style differences and climate. But I was lucky enough to travel around. So I went down to New Zealand, Australia, did some work in California as well too, to just get different techniques and different experience under the belt. I was actually supposed to go to South Africa, but then COVID came in and we couldn't travel anywhere. And then I think we spent too much time drinking wine ourselves, and we were like, let's do it. Let's buy a property and build our own winery.
Were there any moments in all those awesome overseas travels that really influenced where you are today?
I would think so, 100%. I would think all of them do. It's just so fun meeting different people. Like the work is hard. I've worked at some very large wineries that run 24 hours a day, just constant during harvest. Like we're talking millions and millions of liters of wine that come in. But it's just it's the lifestyle behind wine that I really like. That's different from just it being a job. Like we're not
Tell us
just
a little bit more about that, because everybody listening is probably more familiar with their own life in beer. So what does like that wine lifestyle mean to you?
It means food and wine. It means social. It means creativity. It being able, every winemaker is so different in their approach. And if you were to give them all the same grapes and the same ingredients, you would still get all different wines. And I just think it's cool how people can just put such a personal spin on it. I think there's been a shift now where people aren't necessarily buying a wine for the brand anymore. They're buying it because they're following winemakers. And I know I do. If a winemaker changes to a different winery, I'm going to follow them. I'm like, yes, I want to try your wines from here now.
Oh, that's so interesting. Like in the beer world, there's definitely like the rock star brewmasters that have everybody knows their names.
Yeah.
And nothing against everybody who's making beer today, but I feel like there's less rock stars out there than there was a few years ago. And I think it's so important to connect with the makers. But in the wine world, especially the people who are really into it, you find that most will actually follow the individual winemakers, like you just mentioned.
I think so. Unless, like, of course, like outside of like the big conglomerate brands that we're talking about that you see everywhere in every liquor store, the actual, like, it's obviously still wine because it's fermented. But I mean, like, the real, like, the neat, the small, the family run, owner operator, those kind of wineries, yes.
So what is it that those winemakers, and I imagine you're striving for similar things, are doing to attract not just the following to the winery they're working at, but that personal following?
I think being honest and transparent. That's the kind of the beautiful thing of where social media has gone these days is everything is online, and you can really use that to engage and connect with your audience. Like behind the scenes, watching us do the fermentation, the crushing of the grapes, working till 2 a.m. because the press broke down, on the bottling line with the family, things like that. It really makes you more involved in the process. And then also there's the lows as well too. I know I've been on my Instagram complaining and being sad because it's tough. It's alcohol's heavily regulated, but also bringing that awareness to consumers is also very important as well too. The education.
People like to see other people and like to know what you're going through, like you mentioned, like the ups and downs. I mean, storytelling, I feel, is like half the battle. Getting your message out there, what you stand for, sharing your journey. And that's what we're doing today. So, you and your husband, you did all these amazing travels. You had worked at wineries, both big and small. You decided, apparently, over a few glasses of wine, or maybe too much, that you wanted to open up your winery. What was next?
Figuring it out.
So, like, being behind the scenes and helping all those years, like, were you looking at it from I could run my own one day? Or at what point during those years did you realize I should probably pay a little bit more attention and kind of put my learnings in a certain area so I know when I'm ready to open my spot?
No, that probably would have been smarter. I think it just came. Because wine is so expressive, which I find like beer's that way too. I think it just really came down from a desire to just wanting to do it ourselves. And seeing how other places do it, and like working in big wineries too, you run into issues of like quality control sometimes because it's just so large. Like little things like that get swept under the rug quite a bit, or like just trying different techniques. So it's been a big learning experience for sure, but it was kind of just out of more stubbornness of just wanting to put my own spin on it.
So you left where you were in the Vancouver area. You came out to Summerland and you opened Violet Winery and Farm. Now, Violet Acres, I apologize, Winery and Farm. Tell us what that name means and how you settled on it.
So that's actually the phonetic pronunciation of our last name. So we wanted something that was personal. And because it's not just a business for us, it's more of a reflection of like who we are and what we're building. And my husband also has really, really cool wine history behind him. So he really wanted to bring that into our plans. And that's kind of the whole reason, one of the reasons that we did really start the winery as well, because he is a sixth generation winemaker, but his family goes back to 1866. And it was actually his grandparents who started the first winery in the Fraser Valley, which is a few hours away, closer to Vancouver. And that's like where I started working. That's where we met. He basically grew up there. So it kind of is honoring his grandparents and his family history with it.
That is amazing. So he's definitely got the connection to the industry. So it's so cool. You said sixth generation?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Now, you mentioned the beautiful area that your winery is in. Now, I want to focus on your tasting room and your property. I mean, you've got a farm for goodness sake, so it has to be a really neat spot. Talk to us about the experience once we drive onto your property. Like, what do we see?
It's going to be lots of open field, lots of animals running around, like quads, tractor. There's definitely going to be goats on the driveway. There's families, there's kids, there's people bringing their dogs and their friends. We really wanted to create a welcoming winery more so than something that was intimidating. So whether someone actually has a deep understanding of wine or they're completely new, we just wanted them to be comfortable in our space. Think of like drinking in your friend's backyard is kind of the vibe we were going for. So we're also very experimental. The winery has also changed, I think, 3 times over since we first started because we like to listen to our customers. So we're always there. We're the front of house. We're in the tasting room. We're speaking directly to the people who are drinking our stuff. So we take their feedback to heart.
Can you give us an example? I love how receptive you are. Give us an example of something maybe a guest shared with you that you're like, you know what? That's a good idea.
Sometimes it comes down to different blends. We did a blueberry. It was very popular. Someone wanted more tannins in it. So we decided to add pomegranate into the following year. We wanted a sparkling wine. So we made a sparkling mojito wine. Sometimes it's more of like aesthetic things, like events that we take into consideration. We have cabanas, so we expanded our cabanas. We put a little bit more privacy up to like cedar hedges, the twinkly lights. You can never have enough twinkly lights. So things like that, little tweaks here and there, different, just the way we organize the winery in some ways too.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So most breweries are probably in urban settings. As the industry grows and breweries expand outside the cities, some become more destinations. But I always think of most wineries as being destinations in themselves. And if you're a destination, you have to do more than just make really great wine. I mean, beer is at a point these days where almost having to question, is beer becoming secondary? That's a really almost controversial question for people to talk about. But to attract people to your tasting rooms, you have to do more than just put out a really, really great beverage. So when you think about creating all these experiences, like where does wine fall for you, and like as within how big of a driver it is for people to come there, or are they coming simply to Summerland, the area, just for the natural beauty, and this is part of the overall experience? I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts on where wine falls and the
We are definitely in like the heart of wine country. So for sure, a lot of people are coming here for the beverage, but we definitely are seeing those similar trends in the beer industry where it is a secondary product. They want the experience. People are choosing where to spend their time very intentionally these days and who they're spending it with. And I think that really matters. So it's more giving them a meaningful experience. The great beverages might bring people in, but the great experience will bring them back.
This is my favorite thing to talk about. I love the tasting room experience when communities come together. So what are you doing in your tasting room at Violet that people love right now? Talk to me about whether it's an event, maybe something aesthetics, just something that you're doing that's really maximizing people's time there.
I think having us in the tasting room is definitely one. There's this big, like, I don't know, like winemakers or like some like elite type of person. It's like you never see them. They're doing like they're like it's you don't want to waste a winemaker's time. Like there's so much connotation around them. But we are just like everyday, ordinary people. If you can like make fermented sauerkraut, you can make wine. Like it's okay. We're just regular, everyday people. So I think having us in the tasting room is a great experience. Because you don't have to pay extra. There's not a special event that you have to go to in order to meet us and talk to us. We're right there going along with you doing it. We also pour wine on tap, most of it anyways, because we really wanted to combine that brewery and winery world and create that casual experience. So a lot of our wines are poured on tap, which kind of just makes people breathe a little. We can just relax. It's okay. You can get a straw or ice cubes in your wine. We're not going to tell you how you should be drinking. We're just all here to be friends. So I think it's a very personalized experience.
I
And
love
we
how
don't
much.
have a very large tasting room either. So you usually like I know it'll be probably at least a half hour going through a tasting with me because we're still very small. We're still only this is gonna be our fourth summer, so and there's over 300 wineries in the region as well too. So there's a lot of competition.
You mentioned how much time you and your husband spend in the tasting room just interacting with guests. Do you have any additional staff who's doing the tastings?
Every once in a while, we bring on some additional staff. We have like live music, barbecue Sundays. Those are always heavy on days. We do outdoor movies. No, that's just me and my husband. We do have a kitchen that runs though, so that's we have our chef, but our chef is also in our tasting room too, chatting about what they're making and where like the style of foods come from. So it's very personalized.
So you have a very small team, as do many breweries, but just by what you just rattled off, you're doing so many different things. You're doing tastings, you're doing experiences, you've got food on site. How do you stay organized? Like, what are your best practices for managing all the different aspects of the winery?
Oh gosh, I think I'm still actually trying to figure that out. You definitely have to have good systems in place for sure. You have to let it go as well. I've learned that I am a control freak. And leadership is definitely not about control, it's about delegation. Um, Balancing cash flow and creativity as well, making your decisions that actually keep the doors open certainly plays into a lot of things that we're doing as well. And then I kind of learned too that success isn't necessarily about being bigger. We don't have to be bigger in this hustle culture and open 7 days a week for 12-hour days. It's actually about being better aligned. So I know this year we are changing our hours. We're going to be open less days. more kind of refined in our events, kind of really finding that balance. For a while there, we just wanted to be everything to everyone at any time. And that's not healthy in itself either. And it's tough to manage that.
I've said it before, but I joke to beer people. You ask a brewery, like, how would you describe your tasting room experience? Oh, we're a welcoming place with great beer. Well, who doesn't want to be that? Just like any winery, you want to be a beautiful space, probably with delicious wine. But
Yes.
really, at the end of the day, when someone leaves Violet and they're talking to their friend in Vancouver and they say, I got back from this awesome trip, what do you hope that they'll tell their friend or family member that means they're not just coming to Summerland, but they're coming to your spot? Like, what would that pitch look like?
I hope they talk about how it's relaxing and how it's beautiful, how in touch with the farm side of the wine world that we are in. So we have a lot of animals because we use them on the farm. So we use them for weed control, we use their manure, things like that to help fertilize the soils, rotate through the different plots, stuff like that. We are a no spray farm because of that. So, because I think people forget that a winery is a farm. And I think that's probably the difference with the beer world because you're always in urban settings, right? So like people aren't seeing the hops being grown. Whereas like our vines are right behind our winery there. You can see them at anywhere in the picnic area that we have.
How do you use that to your advantage? I imagine people will see it when they're driving through, walking around. How do you make them feel more connected to the nature around them?
We can't control the chickens, so they are just everywhere.
By default is your answer.
I don't like, yeah, it's you can't really escape the farm. So it's there. Same thing with the goats. They just hang out on the driveway. We've had a variety of animals that will walk down. Sometimes they walk into the tasting room. Yeah, it's I don't know, the tractor. We don't like not run the tractor during business hours because unfortunately that's not how Mother Earth works and certain things need to be done at certain times. So we're very open and transparent about that. Sometimes when it's only just me and it's like a slower day, I will be behind the tasting room in the vineyard and I'll have a sign up that's like, hey, I'm just in the vineyard, shoot me a text. I usually can hear them come up and then I'll come around. So like I will be in active like vineyard wear. We're not necessarily always dressed up in our nice clothes because stuff has to be done.
So that's interesting. I mean, the personal connection you're building with your guest. I mean, you're giving them your cell phone number and telling them to text you. I don't think many people are doing that. So you're going above and beyond your choice to build this connection and let them into your life.
Yeah.
Not every brewery tasting room has the ability for the founders to be the ones interacting like that. And just, I guess, imagine someday you have 10 staff and you're not working the tasting room as much as you used to. How do you think you would get them as excited about your brand as you are? That way they can effectively tell the story.
Having passionate employees, really training them well, and also involving our employees in every aspect of it. When we do have employees, our first year we had a lot of employees. We made them do everything. They weren't just tasting room. They're labeling wines. They're helping us make the wines. They're bottling with us. Giving them their own responsibility in the winery outside of just being a front of house. So they really do feel attached to the products. We also do a lot of employee events as well too. We do like family dinners on Sunday. We just really try to get everyone involved as much as we can.
So that's fascinating. Thanks for sharing that. So like you're in an area that's a destination. How are you finding your staff in the first place? Like, I imagine the pickings could be slim, or do you find people want to actively come and relocate to that region?
They do. It is tough though. We are very seasonal out here, and there is a lot of like Airbnb, short-term rentals. So that makes it very hard for people to actually move out here in order if they to find something to rent. And then housing in BC is very expensive. BC stands for bring cash. So it is tough in that. At times we have had to not have employees, not because we don't want them, but it's just because we can't find them. We can't find someone where we would feel confident in their skills. So it comes down to us again.
So has lack of staff ever affected you negatively, as in, well, we can't open on Monday because we just don't have anyone to be there? Because you want to respect your own boundaries and don't overwork yourself. But how has that impacted your business by just having a slim pool of people to pick from?
I did not learn to respect my boundaries until 6 weeks ago.
What happened 6 weeks ago?
I learned to respect my boundaries. I was like, okay, I can't be a crazy person anymore. We definitely, the lines blurred for us a lot when it came to that. So it didn't matter if we didn't have staff. It's like, nope, we are opening. I could be sick, I could be hungover. It does not matter. If someone calls in, it doesn't matter. It's like someone has to be down there to open these doors. So if only the turkeys could talk.
If only the turkeys could talk. So we're going to change it up a minute. So you mentioned early on, this is dry February. You're celebrating right now because of your birthday in January. But the winery also has your own non-alcoholic brand, which I
Mhm.
imagine might be a little helpful for the next few days. So talk to us a little bit about how that came to be and how it's going.
It's going fantastic, actually. It has opened up such a different sales realm for us.
What
To live
made you
out
want to even start an NA brand?
here, hospitality is about taking care of everyone. If someone isn't drinking, they still deserve to have something thoughtful in their glass. That's more than just sparkling water. And we definitely saw this switch in consumer behavior happening. I don't know if it's just going to be a trend that's only here for a short period of time, but it was definitely something that was more often asked in our tasting room. So we listened to the people. So why wouldn't we? It was also a little bit of a personal goal as well. It is hard to moderate our consumption being in the industry. We're constantly surrounded by it. On a good day, you want to drink because you just hit record sales for the day. On a bad day, you want to drink because you only have 4 people come in. So it's tough. And then you also have to drink it when you're working with it and you're tasting constantly. And we have barrels that are aging. So it was just really about making options that don't necessarily have the alcohol, but they still have that experience behind it.
So talk about getting that going. Like, what was the investment like to launch a non-alcoholic wine program? You don't have
It's
to give
been
exact numbers, but I
very
mean,
expensive. The only way you spell winery is with dollar signs. It was actually really cool though. It took a lot of experimenting. So like wine is like a little trifecta between like your alcohol, your fruit, your acidity. When you're removing the alcohol, the other flavors become really pronounced. Sometimes they actually change. We found like a lot of our white wines mostly just tasted like lemon after. So it was a matter of finding a varietal that would work with it well. Sauvignon Blanc is naturally known to be high in acidity and has those lemony flavors. So that's where one of our wines comes from is a Sauv Blanc. Merlot has been one of our most popular reds. It took a lot of experimenting though, because we are in a northern climate. Some of our reds still have those like green herbaceous undertones, and those really became dominant in the non-alcoholic wines. So we make sure to leave our grapes on the vine that much longer, go for a higher alcohol, go for more of an early ripening grape as well too. So it's been a lot of experimenting. I actually think it's harder than regular wine. And then the equipment is also expensive as well with it. So right now we actually outsource our de-alcoholization because we're talking in like the 6 figures for equipment in order to do it ourselves. And we don't do reverse osmosis or distillation. We do a new method, which is essentially a vacuum distillation. It's a spinning cone technology, and we're able to essentially spin out the alcohol on a molecular level. So we don't manipulate the wine as much. Obviously, we know distillation. You're essentially cooking the wine, right? Those are like those $8 non-alcoholic brands that have been sitting on the grocery stores for the last 40 years. Reverse osmosis is very popular now, but it can sometimes be a little bit too watery or like lacking in flavor. So it took a while to find out what be the right method as well too. So it took about a year and a couple months to kind of fine tune 2 products that we wanted to release to the public.
so two follow-up questions for you. How is having the NA wine in your tasting room changing the experience? I'd love to hear maybe about how many people are drinking it there. What are their thoughts like? Then follow up, talk to us about off premise. Like, what's it doing across Canada?
It is across Canada, which is super exciting. It actually just got picked up in Walmart as well too. which is big. We're working on a couple more chains. We are so heavily regulated out here in terms of our liquor. I know the States as well has their regulations, but like it's a little bit more easier to get wine and beer around. So that was huge, opening up kind of like a different revenue stream for us, and we can go across Canada with it, which is fantastic. And then it's just building different relationships with different types of businesses. We're in flower shops, we're in grocery stores, we're in, I don't know, all over the place. We're in like little mom and pop grocery stores, like little health food stores, things like that, which is fantastic.
Now, what about in the tasting room? Are people coming specifically for the NA? Are they having it maybe I like to have maybe 2 alcoholic beers and maybe my third could be a non-alcoholic. I love kind of having the option there. Like what
Yes.
habits are you seeing in your tasting room?
Yeah, so we do have some people that come specifically for the non-alcoholic. I find they don't necessarily always stay. We do have some people that come in a group though, and then it'll be like the designated driver is drinking it, or it's sorry, my cat, get out of here. That's the nice part. It is about having options. We do wine flights, so you get to choose any 4 wines of your choice, and people do that quite often. They will do 2 non-alcoholic and then 2 alcoholic wines because sometimes it's about pacing yourself. Which that's probably what we've seen most in the consumer shift is people starting with a glass of alcoholic, then going to a non-alc, then going back to an alcoholic, because it's that social aspect that I think is so important. As much as we are respective of people's choices these days, it's holding that glass of wine, it's talking and it's laughing and it's listening to music or something, it's the swirling, you're just prone to it. It's fun.
Yeah, so you nailed it. And we're talking a little bit about moderation. We're talking about non-alcoholic wines. You're doing dry February right now, which still feels weird for me to say, but I commend you for the way you're doing it. Like, what tips do you personally have that have helped you with moderation? I know a lot of people in the beverage industry, we're all trying to find that right balance. I know for me personally, when I first got in the industry, I didn't have a child. Now I have a 6-year-old and I find my habits are a little bit different. So I'm just kind
Yeah.
of curious what your habits look like and how you're able to moderate despite being around alcohol all the time.
Yeah, I guess like a hard reality check, really. It's we don't have children, but we do have a lot of farm animals. Sometimes we're a little bit slower getting to feeding them in the mornings and things like that. Sometimes it just comes down to like a really bad hangover. You're like, why? Why are we doing this? Why do I not know how to drink in moderation? I guess you just eventually learn to grow up a bit. I don't have any like magical wisdom behind it or anything. It's just some days are good and some days are bad.
That's fair enough. And like, thinking about your non-alcoholic brand, I love the innovation there. Are there any other things you've done that's like outside of the box that's benefited your brewery or your winery? I apologize on that one. Have it?
No, I don't. What else would be outside of the box? I guess honestly, starting with honey wine was very out of the box. Mead is very popular in the States. It's not as popular out here, but it is such a beautiful intersection between beer and wine. And it allows us to invite new wine drinkers into the category. So it's a lot easier to drink. It's more approachable than grape wine. A lot of beer drinkers drink it as well too. There's actually, my husband brews a braggot, which is a type of honey wine that mimics a beer essentially. So using grain and hops for a hybrid beverage. We've also played around with hops in other ways as well too. So we really do have something for everyone, and it really put us into like a cool little niche, starting with the honey wine while we were waiting for our grapes to come in from the vineyard. So I think that would be a big one, is what really separated us.
Very cool. I mean, it seems like you're very well traveled. You like to learn. What other industries or specific companies do you look for inspiration?
I don't know, a bottle of tequila? No, honestly, just about anywhere. I don't think it has to be like a specific hospitality place. It doesn't have to be a specific company. It's just anywhere where people are like dialed into the detail and it's something that's intentional and you can feel that like genuine care as a consumer that can translate across any beverage, but it's inspiration hits anywhere from those. It's just a good, well-balanced place.
Are there any places that you could that you kind of could mention as doing like really great job that you're like you visited or you've read about? You're like, oh, that's a really good idea. Maybe somehow we could incorporate into the winery.
Yeah, usually like inspiration from events come from that. We do a lot of times, trying out different events, see what people like, see how like the general crowd's reacting to it. Yeah, live music always is the best though.
So yeah, when it comes to the events, I mean, brewery tap rooms are always looking for new ways to get butts in seats. It's probably the most asked question right now that everybody's looking for the magic answer to. So if you could just rattle off a couple of events you've done that knocked it out of the park, then on the flip side, maybe a couple that you thought were home runs and just didn't pan out.
Absolutely. So we do an annual event called Barbie Party. We did it in inspiration from the movie coming out the 1 year, and we did not know that this was going to take off. So it's just about getting the girls, the guys together. You dress up as your favorite Barbie doll, and we just hang out in the sunshine.
Can
And
you still do it?
we still do it. Yeah, we had no idea it was going to turn into such a thing. It was our first year of operations, and we're just trying to think of event ideas. Let's do a Barbie party for the release of Barbie movie, and it took off. We did sparkly, glittery wine. We turned all of our kitchen food pink. It's just like someone threw up pink everywhere, but it's so much fun, and people love a good theme. So I think we're definitely going to lean into more themed events. That's what we have learned. People like that. We've done like a couple art events, like paint a pot, then you get to choose from one of the flowers or something. Those ones haven't panned out as well as I had hoped, but I don't know if it's because of the event or if it's marketing. You have to be like, I'm already planning all of my events for summer, and we don't even open till May long weekend. And like, they're going to be posted, they're going to be advertising, and it's still February. So I've learned that you really have to put it out well in advance. So I don't know yet if our events maybe haven't been that great. It's just that we haven't been advertising them well enough.
So that's something I'm curious about. So like if you had to guess, like what percent of your traffic that comes to the tasting room is not from your area?
Ooh, you know what? I don't actually know. Honestly, probably 60% if I had to take a guess at it.
Yeah, I was going to guess
Yeah.
50, 60 being such a
Yeah.
destination region. So I would imagine it's difficult to market to them because you might not know where they're coming from. Maybe you have their email address. You're hoping they check out your social media. So how are you getting your messaging out there to everyone who's not in the Okanagan? Did I get it right again? Every time I say it, I'm like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
no, Okanagan. Yeah,
It's so
no,
fun
you're
to
good.
say.
You have to be consistent. I think more than confident. The consistency is what I have learned. So just routinely posting on Instagram, joining all of the different kind of Facebook groups that you can. Facebook ads, really good. We do get a lot of customers from BC. We also get a lot of customers from Alberta, and Quebec actually is huge for us. We recently started allowing RVs on our property. So that actually brings a bunch as well too. We actually don't charge for an RV spot. You just have to support the winery. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. So it works out well. So we actually get a lot of Americans now coming up in their motorhomes and their RVs, which is fantastic. A lot of cross Canada travelers as well. So as we're growing, it's definitely changing. It's all about pivoting.
That's great. So what are your favorite channels? I mean, you mentioned a lot of the ones that breweries use, but what's your prime channel for marketing? Is it Facebook?
Actually, it's Instagram, like Facebook ads, yes, but it's Instagram in terms of like the stories, showing you the behind the scenes, the reels. I know you can do all of that on Facebook, but it's just, I don't know, Instagram. Maybe it's because like I grew up with Instagram. It's like so much more like, I don't know. I just love it so much more.
No, yeah, I get it. I mean, I think a lot of people are definitely spending time there. So I want to change it up. So we connected because your coach told you to get on as many podcasts as possible, which I thought was so cool. Tell us a little bit about how you came to have a coach and how has it helped you grow as a person and entrepreneur?
Feeling stuck in the business and trying so many different things and maybe not executing them well enough led me to be like, okay, we have to find some outside help. And not that we weren't talking to other people in the industry. Like we have a very supportive like friend group, industry group, but someone who looks at business different is really what I was looking for. So it's definitely helped me step out of like the day to day, more of a leader than an operator. I know I struggle with like being inside the business, so my
Yeah.
perspective is really narrow and it's emotional as well too. I'm like, I have built this. Of course, this is a fantastic place, right? Like you get very emotional and tied to it, and it's hard to have emotions in business when you're making decisions. So, and then having someone challenge the way that you think and what can be possible has been fantastic. Dan's been great to work with. He's really changed my mindset. It's not like he's like, oh, blah, 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 do this and you will make millions of dollars. It's actually changing how I think about ideas or things, and how I approach them now has actually been the biggest thing that I've learned. And he has always this one phrase that he says is to borrow his confidence. And I like that. So that's what I've been doing on this podcast journey is I am borrowing his confidence to throw myself out there, and it has absolutely worked out. I've met many cool people. I got to connect with all sorts of industries. It's been fantastic.
So, I mean, that's one of the things I love that you reached out, because I hop on a call with essentially anybody because you never know where it's going to lead. You never know what you're going to learn. Is there anything that you've learned from all the random calls you've recently had?
The more hands you shake, the more money you make. Yeah, people are friendly. I wasn't approaching people as much because I'm like, no, I'm busy. I got things to do. I have like 187 emails. Like, leave me alone. But no, actually, even just like the shortest conversation with someone, you can actually learn from. So I guess that's like the inspiration from anywhere. It can be a silly conversation. It can be a serious conversation, but definitely just talking to people.
Yeah, I mean, I love talking to people just because, like I said, you never know what you're going to learn.
Yes.
So you've made some really good decisions lately. It sounds like that non-alcoholic wine was definitely a winner. You're hosting some great events. Is there anything you've done at the winery that you've learned from? Maybe it didn't pan out the way you thought at first. You had to pivot. You had to change something. What's a mistake you've made that you've come out from and got eventually to the better side?
I mean, outside of like carrying too much myself, I just feel like I'm like a broken record with that because I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's yeah, don't do that. Don't carry it yourself. There's people out there to help you. Um, Maybe trying to fit myself too much into a certain image at the beginning, like the winery. At the beginning, I've let go of a lot more like for like customers will be like, oh, this wine tastes like this, or this is a sweet wine, or this is like that. And it's like, oh, actually it's not. Like I like to do the consumer education, but I
Yeah.
think I was pushing it too much, and you just kind of got to let people be at the same time. You can kind of tell if they're going to be receptive of it. So that was certainly something. If you're not embarrassed by the first product that you put out, I think you waited too long to launch. Just kind of refining, yeah, just learning each wine that we put out, each label that we put out. There's always something. I have not yet learned to spell check properly though. It doesn't matter how often I spell check. It doesn't matter what program I use. Those mistakes are going to be there. So I haven't learned from that yet.
Someday, goals.
Yes, one day goals. Yeah. Yeah. I think just taking a breather and just learning to take a step back for sure.
So your business, you
Intense.
work alongside your husband. So many other breweries and so many breweries in our space, it's family-run businesses often. They're small, very little teams, often a husband, wife, or other family members. What's a tip that you could share that you for working alongside a significant other that's made it work for you two?
Definitely respect each other's strengths and stay in your lane. We try really hard to have very clear roles to try and decrease the friction when we can. Most importantly, definitely protecting the relationship outside of the business. We do a pretty good job of separating that at the end of the day. Um, yeah, I always say my husband is the best husband in the entire world, but as a business partner, and I think that's okay. We know what each other is good at. We have to, yeah, you got to have trust in your partner as well too. That's kind of the entire point why we're here is because we trust each other and we are going to do this together. So it comes down to respect for sure.
Good tips there. So what's next for Violet? Any big ultimate goals that you have?
Uh, we would like to expand the non-alcoholic line, so we're looking at doing a sparkling rosé and a white wine. Right now, we just have a rosé and a red. Kind of just like fine tuning the process that we have right now. So it's fourth year. We got big hopes and dreams for this year in terms of execution and events and just just having a better. It's being better aligned, not like, yes, of course, I want to be in every liquor store that could ever possibly be anywhere. But at the same time, I would love to see 30 new locations this year. So that's what we're working on. It's about being modest. You can't take on the world.
When you said 30 new locations for a second, I was thinking that you meant as in like 30 tasting rooms, but obviously you
Oh,
meant where your wine is.
no.
Okay. I went off for a second there.
No, I wish. It would be cool that, like, that's the thing with the wine industry is the regulations. They actually don't allow you to have an urban setting, which is different from breweries. Compared to the wine, I'm like, breweries can do whatever they want. Gosh, they have all this freedom. But we are lucky enough that we actually live on site where our tasting room is, so it's all very collective.
No, that's awesome. So I've really enjoyed the conversation today, and I'm just curious: is there anything else about you or your business we should know?
Come visit us, come in your RVs, come stay, come hang out for the weekend. You can find us online at violetacres.com. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. Just come be a friend. Yeah.
It sounds like a beautiful destination. I would love to try all your products. So Maddison, hopefully we get to share a glass together someday. So thanks again for the conversation and hanging out today, and hope to meet in person soon or eventually. I don't know how soon, but someday. We'll leave it at that.
Someday, yes.
Awesome. Well, cheers everybody. We'll see you soon.